What's up, guys? Barry Gaming here, back with another episode of Idle Chatter. Today, once again, we are hosted here with June and MKX Jump, as always. We are going to be going over Aspen Dungeon because with the new Void updates, if you've seen all the news videos, the spoiler videos, you probably know Aspen Dungeon is actually going to play kind of a significant role because it's going to affect your character's level. So MK, I know you haven't looked at too many of the spoilers, so we won't go into it too much in case there's some of you out there who don't want spoilers, that actually like waiting and seeing the events, things like that. June, I think you've seen a bit here and there, probably more or less just me talking in your Twitch chat, but yeah. I know you've watched a couple of the videos too and actually had to watch them, but the one thing we will start out and go over, and the whole reason why we're doing an Aspen Dungeon kind of Q&A session on stream, plus kind of going over especially June's opinions on who he thinks are the core heroes you should focus on, is because in the Void, there is a new buff achievement type system where based on what your maximum level you've gotten to in Aspen Dungeon, you will be able to actually upgrade your hero's levels. So we're not getting new enables, we're not getting anything like that, but we are going to be going from maximum level 330 at E5 potentially all the way up to 350. So you can get a maximum of 20 more, but it all depends on what level in Aspen Dungeon you finish. So the tier levels are finishing Nightmare, finishing Hell and getting to Death 1, and also finishing Death, which nobody's done. GDP is the closest, I think, right now at level 88. I don't see it happening until we get potentially new heroes, but it could always happen. We got all these pay-to-win artifacts now, all these Ormus artifacts that are absolutely popping off. But today we kind of have to go over two things. One is I'd like to kind of go over a few of the heroes that we know are the go-tos to get you to that Death 1. That way you can get pretty close to max level, even right at the launch if you have not gotten a Death 1 yet. And then we'll probably spend most of our time talking about how to climb up to Death 100. No one's done it yet. Probably going to take maybe the new Sword Flame Shia or Flame Short. What is it? Flash Sword? Sword Flash Shia?
Flash Sword.
Flash Sword? Yeah, Flash Sword Shia. She's probably going to be the one that carries us to 100, but people are close. Of course, it's on the whale side of things. But I mean, well, there's a lot of people getting to Death 50 with all these Ormus artifacts right now. So, yeah, I think we should probably just touch base. I know, MK, you've had some experience getting to Death 1 because that's kind of more the realistic goal for the average player, the low spender, the mid spender. Most people should be able to get there because you can kind of do it with just one E5 here. Yeah, me personally, definitely. I've done it with Cthulhu. I haven't actually done it with any others. I know, MK, you can kind of touch on some of the older heroes that people might still have. They can get them there, like the Valkyries and stuff. The ones in the old school days could get you there. I don't know if you want to go over a couple that you know of real quick.
That can get you to Death. The one that was really the one around when Death came out, it was definitely Valkyrie was a big one. It's actually a lot of the heroes we still see now that are older. So Faithblade would have been a really popular choice. Was Penny around when Death originally came out? She must have been, right?
I think she came out after Death 1 was released, but yeah she's...
Because I think I have a very vivid memory of when people hit Hell for the first time.
Yeah.
And that was big when E3 came out. So there's a lot of heroes I know that can get to Hell just as an E3. But actually, when it comes to getting to all the way up to Death, that's a different story. There's some heroes that just drop off because the hero pool changes. It's like when, for example, if you're playing in Death, you've got to then face things like Ammon Ra. So like some heroes that are newer that can then get added to the pool, then mix things up. If anything, if we're just gonna have a quick reminiscent on the old days, Bade is a horrible hero.
Yeah.
In Aspen Dungeon. Shouldn't exist. Yeah, but Bade waves are terrifying. It's just, I think they appear still on Death, don't they? It's just like,
you still get the solo Bade waves. They can actually kill some heroes, very strong heroes. It's kind of crazy. They can high roll. Oh, you can high roll. Get the 4 times damage dealing and just, oh look, I procced unbending on his basic attack. Awesome.
or even 2 years ago when Walter got changed. With the basic, that's the 100% chance to stun.
Yep. Just
like
stun
the
lock.
Outcry was like, well, now Aspen Dungeon's impossible because it's just gonna
get that wave. Yeah. I know the one probably hero when it first came out. Did we have E5s when Death 1? When you could get to Death? I can't remember if E5 was around yet. I can't remember the timeline on that. I feel like people did get to death 1 with an E3 Ada though. I feel like they high rolled
either an
it.
Ada or a Valkyrie. It'll be one of the two.
Yeah.
I did death 1 with an Ada, E3 Ada.
Yeah.
So that's my experience. You can definitely do it.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think there's many other heroes though that can do with E3. I don't know.
Not E3.
I haven't had enough experience. Like people ask me sometimes on stream about how do you get to death, and I'm like, dude, I just paid to win.
Yeah.
I bought Ada copies. I went straight from like Hell 1 to like Death 1 in like
on like 1 go. Yeah.
Ada's the big game changer when she came out.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So she still is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Ada's just crazy. I mean, Ada can obviously do it very, very easily. You said Faithblade can do it. Can he pretty much breeze through every level? You know that, June?
I think at E5.
Probably should be able to.
Yeah, well, at E5,
yeah. They're really big.
I don't know about E3 though.
I imagine Russell
like,
can do it.
Will game changer on heroes like that.
Imagine Russell can do it pretty easily now too. Unless, of course, he comes across a Penny but I don't think Penny's before death.
Mm-hmm. No. Which makes me think that we probably got it around the same time, right?
Yeah.
It like death must have came when Penny was already in the game. It couldn't have been the other way around.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't have made any sense.
Pretty
so I
much.
think they got E5 out.
Yeah.
It was Anniversary, and then maybe it was Death after that.
Anniversary were the last
so.
heroes to get put into death. So I think after Anniversary, Nakia was the next one. We don't see Nakia, Gust, and Garuda, all those up till current. So it's basically been a full year of heroes released since that. So I imagine if we do get, say, Crazy coming out eventually, they're probably going to be all the heroes from the last year, which is really scary because there's some that are crazy. But as far as
you don't want to fight heroes.
It's
carriers.
Imagine fighting a Sherlock.
It's actually quite funny. I've just done a quick search on Reddit.
Yeah.
And like you're seeing stuff a year ago, there's a Reddit post that says DH Games, please nerf Aspen Death. It's too hard. My E5 Valkyrie can't do it.
Oh jeez. It's reason they had a plan. Just keep releasing broken things and then you can finally do it.
I don't know how much they actually put into it. I talk about it on stream a little bit, but it's one of the most like challenging, rewarding, and like well-balanced parts of the game.
Yeah.
Everything else is falling apart. Like look at Broken Spaces, it's just a graveyard now. There's nothing going on. People are just
15
don't care about it anymore. Flame Shrine, people don't really care. Like if you're running a Thakwa comps, it's still fun because you can try to beat your PRs, keep trying to push more and more damage, like taking a hero out in and out, maybe upgrading an artifact. But when it comes to just like engaging PvE, sadly it's only Aspen Dungeon right now in Death. There's a lot of people that don't have the comps, they don't have the the experience, but it's actually something that's like it's fun to do. I find it really fun. I mean, I do it every day, but I still find it challenging, and you're always faced with like small little subtle changes. So you might lose a hero to bad luck, but then sometimes you get overly lucky with with demon potions or whatever. So it's really balanced, but I don't know. I think it's just dumb luck that it ended up being that way.
Oh, I definitely.
It's just really hard to try to engineer it.
I've just found out Death came out in the end of June last year.
Oh, so right at the same time as it was. They probably came out right before Penny and Amun-Ra, or right around the same exact time.
It was just after.
Just after,
okay. It's mid-June. Yeah, makes sense. I remember when it went out. I was like, to me, it didn't like at that point. That was my first anniversary. I was only like 6 or 7 months old into the game, and they're like, we expanded Tower of Oblivion and gave you Aspen Dungeon. I'm like, this means nothing to me.
Yeah, it's like I can't do any of this.
Like, I don't care about this. Like, I just need more food or whatever it was at the time, right?
Yeah. Little do you know, it's now your entire career.
Yeah, seriously.
But let's go through the faction tabs real quick. So heroes that we know can get you to Death 1 solo. We're talking about this is your only E5 hero. Faithblade can do it. Ada can do it. Russell should be able to. I don't think I've seen anybody do it, but everybody that has Russell, I feel like was already in Death, so it's really hard to test that. I don't think any of the other ones can. Asmodel and Terra, I don't believe can.
I think Valkyrie can.
Valkyrie and Forest. Valkyrie can. I know she can. I did see something.
Unimax might be able to too. One of the things I struggle with too is that I don't remember the waves from Hell to Death that much because they change. For people that don't know, there's every 100 has its own little meta going on. Not a lot of stuff. It's not gonna be anything because your heroes are gonna be so strong. You're just gonna be skipping and just smashing everything. Once you get to Death, you hit a lot of roadblocks, so you might start noticing like really hard waves. But from Hell 1 to Hell 100, I don't remember much of it, but I would assume that a lot of the E5s now can do it. Like Unimax, I don't know if much would stop him. He's pretty good.
He's
Although
got
there's
so
not
much
much attack
healing.
this deal, but tanky heroes that with sustain, essentially, I think is it. Or burst heroes.
So let's look at the Dark faction. We know Aspen can, because I've done it solo with Aspen. Do you think Drake or Carry can take you?
Oh, Drake definitely could, I think.
I feel like Drake could. Carry, I feel like would run into too many waves that she would have troubles with. I don't know though.
Like Aspen just seems insane. If you don't have pennies and Almond Raws to fight, Aspen would be one of the best heroes in Aspen Dungeon, period. But the second either those heroes show up in death, it kind of just puts a stop to Aspen shenanigans. But yeah. Any sustain, like that's why Aspen's so amazing. He's burst sustain. It's just kind of crazy when you think about it, and he scales. It's just in Aspen Dungeon, the meta in death is only like a 1 to 2 round meta. And that's why heroes like Ada are actually insane. They kind of break that rule. Sherlock as well. They can just sit there for 30. Like Sherlock sits there for 30 rounds. Yeah, he's not a hero, right?
And that's
a
Drake short fight.
The dodge. So I think Drake would work. Like from Hell 1 to Hell 100.
I think he could do it.
What Barry needs to do is his next meme account needs to be just wailing for LDs to push
and then regress and then build a different one and then regress and then build another one.
Hero. Let's test every single LD hero.
Oh, gee. All right, Forest faction. We know Valkyrie can. I did see on Reddit last week someone got to death 1 with a solo Rogan, which kind of doesn't surprise me because he has a lot of sustain, and really there's not too many waves that counter that. You don't face any Amun Raz, which would be his worst matchup possible. I mean, he doesn't do great against quad waves, but at E5 he probably just runs right over them. Granted, they did say it did take a little RNG. But Rogan can get you there. Do I recommend you building him if you're that early in the game? Probably not. No.
Yeah.
Garuda, I know a lot of people have gotten up into like the high 80s and 90s. I imagine there's probably somebody out there that's gotten to death 1 through sheer RNG of getting the best waves possible for her and gotten to death 1. I don't think that's a good shot. I don't think Vest can do it, right? Don't imagine. Although there's pay to win artifacts now, so you never know.
That's true. I've never seen. I've only played with a 10-star Vessa, and I liked her there, but I've never enabled her, so I have no idea what her potential is. Yeah, maybe she's just kind of bursty, but yeah, she kind of falls off in damage.
She got sustain, but not great. Yeah. As far as Abyss goes, we know Cthulhu can. That's probably one of the easiest ones to get to death 1. Delacium can do it solo as well. Somebody posted on Reddit last week saying they got to death 1 with a solo E5 Delacium. So
wow,
that was pretty interesting. That just makes his value as your first E5 pretty close to Penny's. Granted, he drops off hard once you hit death 1, whereas Penny has use all the way up. But
yeah, she can keep going.
But it gives you that much more. Like Delacium is a very underrated hero. Just because most people, I think, only use him at 9-star. Plus, he really doesn't fit in the PvP meta whatsoever. So that's a big downside. Whereas Penny can do a lot of work, especially early in mid-game. She's probably one of the best PvP heroes to have, just because of the burst she had. But besides that...
I was going to say, do you want to know some things that might scare you?
Oh, jeez.
I'm just looking at a list I was looking for a while ago, which was made back before Death came out, and it was heroes that could get you to hell at E3. The list is terrifying. Like, so if there's people out there that are just like, what should I build as my first E3? You can do it with Berea. Yeah. You can do it with Corpse Demon.
Ooh.
You can do it with Heartwatcher, with Jara, with Karim. Even King Barton, an E3 can get you to hell.
Oh, yeah.
Mim can do it.
Yeah, King Barton can get you to hell 50. I know that.
Yeah. There's just even Gru.
Oh man.
Yeah, he's KB to get to hell 50. I think hell 1 or hell 50. Then he falls off. I didn't make him E5. He was E3 or E4.
Yeah, he was E3 when I got to hell 50 as well.
Yeah. He's just good fun to watch. What a great hero. I hope they void him. I would snap build.
Oh god, void Barton. That'd be sick.
Oh, it would be so sick, dude. He's just like. It like all random attacks must target him. He's just sitting in slot 1.
He is the first true taunt that just affects everybody.
To have the lowest HP or something like that.
Yeah, it would be great. Absolutely amazing.
So that's good. Sherlock, obviously, Sherlock is probably the easiest hero, I'd probably say, to get there. So here's a question for you, June. Do you know, does every difficulty in Aspen Dungeon get an innate 30% control, or 30% control immunity? Or is it only in Death 1 Plus? Because I know we always talk about, a lot of you guys probably don't know it, but in Aspen Dungeon, there is a built-in control immunity that all the heroes have that you fight against. That's why Sherlock, with an upgraded Rui, essentially has like 80% chance or something like that to CC them, or something like that.
Yeah, I can take a look at the data mine right quick. But in Death 1, they have 30. Okay. It's 30 control immunity and 20 damage reduction. That's like the base they gave all the heroes. But I'll see. I've actually never checked, because I don't know much about health to death. But I would assume it's the same across the board, because it doesn't scale at all, which would be brutal if it did. Across all the death, all the way up to 100, it's the same.
Yeah, imagine if it scales up in crazy. Yeah, let's hope it doesn't. Let's just go with it doesn't scale. It's just,
I think, well, they're gonna have like default Dodge and like Dove and stuff. I'm thinking it's gonna be the dumb heroes there, so I don't think they're gonna need any extra.
So Fortress, Sherlock, and Penny can easily get you to Death 1. Unimax should be able to, I imagine. You should.
Yeah.
It's more just attack, though. Like, it really depends how much he can steal, because they probably don't have much attack to steal, and that's where he gets a lot of his kind of burst from. But
I would actually say, she probably could, even with a crown or an upgrade, even like a glittery A and B. I mean, granted, we're starting to talk about the pay to win artifacts, which I don't like talking about when we're talking about getting to Death 1, because usually if you're at that point, unless you're spending money, you're not going to have that unless you get really lucky. But even at that, we could maybe say, okay, you could get a crown like this week. You could get it. If you've been saving, you're still early game, you got your first E5, you could probably have a crown. Probably. But it doesn't just automatically mean you're going to win with any hero. Shia, I feel like, could be borderline, though.
I think she'd struggle against waves with 4 enemies.
True.
Just because she only hits one target.
The good thing, though, against quad enemies, I mean, it's probably a mixed bag. She gets more blocks, and when she does do an active, she can pop off, but it's weird. So actually, it's interesting. There's no damage reduce all the way up to level, I don't even know what that is classified as, but around level 400s. I don't even know where that is. It must be in hard or somewhere in that range. There's no DR.
Easy.
And there's no
easy, normal, hard, nightmare. So it's nightmare.
But there is control immunity pretty much. I think. If we're talking hell, I'm pretty sure you're at 30. Before that, it's 20. It starts at 0, the scales to 20, then 30, and just stays 30 all the way through. So, I would assume it's 30, just because it's just the start of this list that just shows 0. So, we're talking, from hell to death with a Sherlock, you will have to kind of get through 30% control immunity, but Sherlock is, solution for every wave. So there's far less pressure, I want to say, in hell than there is in death.
Oh yeah,
you can mess around probably for 30 rounds and just eventually dub everyone.
Even just like a fearless armor. Sorry, plate of the courageous, which now we have 2 in the game.
I don't know why they did that.
That awesome name change.
I'm calling it fearless. I know. No one's gonna make me change.
Year down the road, people are like, why is he calling it fearless armor? It says plate of the courageous.
It's like I'm a boomer. I don't like changing.
But yeah, Sherlock easy. Ithaca, I feel like, is an easy clear up to Death 1. I feel like, she's got the huge burst. She's got sustain. I feel like she should have no problem. Horus can get you there as long as you can dodge the healer waves. You dodge healer waves, Horus can get you there, no problem. But of course, you come across like one solo Vesa, you gotta have a second hero that can burst her down. I think that's pretty much it. There's definitely no one else in Shadow that can do it. Again, Shia, borderline. Sigmund can get you to like hell 50. But if we're talking pay to win artifacts, no.
But then you have an E5 Sigmund. I don't know what you're doing with your life then.
PvE.
He's not horrible if you're gonna build like a Delacium army around him for early game, but there's better heroes.
Build out a Penny afterwards to do Seal Land. There's ways you can pivot with a Sigmund, which is that's why I made a joke, but I do have an E5 Sigmund on my main account. But that's because I wanted to do Seal Land 20, and he's like just a meat shield. He's decent, and he does some decent. He was good prior to the whole Delacium army thing becoming a thing.
Oh yeah, because he was needed. Well, he was even more useful before Drake existed, and now that there's so many of the top damage dealers in the game that literally target the same target that Drake targets, that it kind of makes him useless, because it's like, I don't care about those other 1 or 2 targets in PvE. I got the one with the thing on it. I got a Russell hitting them, or I got an Ithaqua hitting them, because even if Delaciums weren't a thing, Ithaqua would still be the top PvE damage dealer paired with a Drake. Like, it just, no comparison. No, like, people don't realize how much damage she does just naturally by herself, because they're used to seeing 200 billion with 2 or 3 Delaciums, but her damage by herself, like, she can pull 20 to 30 billion solo. Like, the closest I've ever seen to that is like maybe 20. I mean, like, that, it just depends on the boss too. But Ithaqua, if I redid my list again, I'd probably say Ithaqua is one of my top first E5 heroes. The only thing that she struggles with is Sealand by herself. It's almost like if you're going to build Ithaqua, you have to invest in a Horus too.
Yeah, it's a lot of factors you have to consider when you like suggest first heroes for people. It's like, there's definitely like there's a handful that you know that we always suggest, but some of it depends on just the luck of the draw of what you get when you start the game, like where you are in the cycle. If you high roll a good event that gives rewards, like it's an ethical event, you're like, nice, I got 3 loops, free copies, branch for more copies, I can just build there. But there's always a sacrifice. The well-rounded ones are nice, like Penny. Penny's well-rounded. Horus is pretty decent. Like, the fact that I didn't know until recently, E3 Horus can get like Sealand 15, 16-ish. Like, that's absurd. Like, that is insane when you think about that. Like, I'd almost want to say, like, just make an E3 Horus, push to 16, then take all that food and then just build like something else, like like a Delacium with Ithaqua or a Penny, but just sit on Sealand 16 for like how many months until you can just start like building something else. It's kind of wild when you think about it.
Well, that's the one advantage. Oh, sorry, go ahead, MK.
I was just going to say, I would go so far to second that I think Horus is, if assuming you can't build like someone like Ada, I think Horus is like the best first E3.
Yeah, he's nuts.
I always struggle with the top 3, because I still think Garuda's definitely not in the top 3. Especially with this change of needing to get to Death 1 to actually have a max hero now. It's definitely between Penny, Delacium, and Horus. Horus just has that easiness of, you literally only need like 5-star and 3-star heroes to get to Sealand 17, 18. Penny, you need a bunch of 10 stars. Delacium, you need like 1 or 2. One, really. You need a 10-star Cruce with him, and then just a bunch of fodder debuffers. So that's where I feel like Delacium and Horus are on like the same highest tier of, because one can get to 20, the other can get to 18, but they're both very minimal. Whereas Penny can get to 20 as well, but takes quite a bit of food investment, where you're not building other heroes, you're building Emily's. But she is probably, out of those, the best at getting you to Death 1 now.
Yeah, it's like it would be interesting, because I think the way you'd want to approach it is you'd probably have to divide it. The people that don't really care is like the whales and the high spenders, because they'll just brute force their way through. It's like, because when I think of what I did, I had like VIP 7. I was riding on VIP 7 momentum, and I was like, no, I can take the time to make 3 10-star Emily's and make an E5 Sigmund and slowly make my way to 20. But if you're talking about a free to play or a low spender, Horus is probably your best bang for your buck, because you get to 16 so fast, right? Like, how long do you reckon it'll take you to make an E3? It's probably going to be like, even as a free to play, it won't take you that long. And then you can just right away catapult to 16. And then from there, you can make an informed decision of, do I want to pursue this to E5 to get 1 more Sealand? Or do I save up Rogue Scrolls, get regression stones, take apart my Horus, and maybe build a Penny or a Jaya or a Della, something that get me to Death 1? Because I totally forgotten, because it's so new. But Barry, you just mentioned that Death, like PvE, like suggestions and first heroes to build, that landscape is going to change so much moving forward, because of this new like void thing going on, where you're going to get rewarded for at least hitting Death 1. Now, you're probably not going to get Death 100 to get that last reward for the last 10 levels, but to get you to Death 1 is huge, because you get extra smashes, and that'll just create momentum moving forward for your account. The hero that you choose hopefully is either a pivot from Sealand and Broken Spaces, or a totally new hero that maybe complements your first hero. So I think it's a really interesting kind of situation right now moving forward that it's definitely going to change. It might be the same, the top 5 contenders, but a little bit of the rankings might go up and down based on how much you want to push that death one.
Yeah, I was going to say the one thing that I think is a really good point 25th said is Horus is the perfect and probably best first E5 for a free to play or low spender by far. If you're like you were saying, if you're looking to spend a little bit, Penny and Delacium are probably the next best. If you're just whaling, I mean, you might as well just build like 2 Garudas. Yeah. You're going for PvP if you're spending that much. Garudas, not great 1 Garuda. 2 Garudas, yeah, they can get you pretty far too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys could
actually turn notifications off. Yeah. Just Mika.
Yeah.
One thing that interests me is I think you mentioned before you were like, I wonder what's going to get us to Death 100, and you're like, it's probably going to be this new Void Shire that's coming out. But what if the difference that makes it is just these extra few levels we have?
Could be.
Like, what difference in stats are we going to get? It could just be like, wow, here's a load of extra attack.
Yeah.
And you suddenly, that extra bit of attack and HP might just be enough to beat certain nodes. It might just wreck all of June's spreadsheet data. He's going to have to go and like, oh, well, now this beats that node now.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, now we can one-shot it with this many demon potions.
You're going to get more attack. Yeah, You're going to get more armor, more HP. The big thing for PvP and the big reason to get to Death 1 now is you're going to be slower if you're not at Death 1 in PvP, which is, even if you're slower by 1 speed, that is huge. And especially, I mean, it's just another thing to add into the speed equation with Celestial Island towers and all these other things. Like, it's going to take a while before, even for like mid-game players, that everything levels out and we're like, we can go back to the theory crafting of like, no, this will always be faster than this or this. But until everybody gets in the end game up to, Death 100 and everything, it's going to be all over the place. But I think that's a pretty good spot for those people who are actually looking to get to Death 1. Again, if you are whaling. Oh, sorry. That was one thing I wanted to talk about. June made a good point about Horus and everything. And I think MK was saying, build the Horus up to E3, get to like 16 and then regress them. I actually saw a lot of people make a good point of, by the time you get your E3 Horus, you are pretty close sometimes to actually building your first 10-star in Dark. And a lot of people then transition to building a carry, which is interesting, and a small Aspen, or vice versa, building up the Aspen since you can at least do some PvE. Because, I mean, it's a lot easier to clear Dark than it is a good majority of them. Dark, actually, if you can get the copies, which they're throwing Amun-Ra's out at like every event right now, which is perfect for everybody trying to do their first Sealand 20, especially light or dark. It just makes getting Dark that much easier. You can get an Aspen from this event. You can get you can get a carry copy. You can get an Amun-Ra copy. It's like the perfect time to start transitioning into possibly Dark heroes. And like you said, you could always regress Horus, build the Dark up, get to 20, and then, you just want to try to not regress too many heroes. You lose a lot of progress as far as food and resources go. So. Yeah, I mean, should we talk about the recommendations? And probably we should probably go to June on this one. We won't go too much into detail about artifacts just yet. I think we should probably go to June and put them on the spot and say, what are the top 4 heroes to go for as far as progressing once you get to Death 1? Who are the ones that you need to have? They're like the backbone of your team. You can't really do without to get to Death 50.
For Death 50 pushes, you're not going to be able to get away from Ada unless you... Well, let's preface this by saying that we're not talking about whale accounts, so there's no brute forcing. So you could probably brute force your way to 50 if you just have a lot of like Sherlocks with pay-to-win artifacts and all that. But we're not going to talk about that. But I think just core heroes, it's going to be, let's just take a look at...
I'll actually change that because I feel like most people who are pushing for Death 50 are usually mid to late game players, right? I mean, usually that's what it is. I would say by then they've been saving universal crystals. I would say I would assume they could get a base version of a pay-to-win artifact. So they could have like a base crown, a base Rui. So like if you're talking Sherlock, the Sherlock probably is going to have a Rui when you're talking about trying to actually get to death 50 as part of the core team. So I'd say you can use those.
I agree there. Yeah, I totally agree. Because before Ormus event, right? I don't think that would have been as like reasonable. But now that they're pushing it through a lot of different ways you can collect those artifacts, I think a lot of people have access to them. Because I mean, I've picked up a handful just in the last 6 months, which was prior to that 6 months, I had nothing. So they're definitely rolling in. So I think getting crowns, like crowns, receptors, those type of things are very good for your tanky heroes. So like Ada is one of those heroes that you just can't get away from. I'm working on my next Aspen Dungeon video, and I'm just breaking down the waves. When I look at the waves in death, at least in the 450s, which is the first set, that's death 1 all the way up to death 15. So that first chunk. When you look at the waves that Ada clears, she clears like 95% of the waves, just straight up, right? So when you see the reason why I ranked her in S+ tier on my tier list is because she's just such a core part of it. And I know Ada has fallen out of favor a lot. So people that are usually pushing death 50, because they just smash. They've been smashing since they've already gotten to death 1, right? But to get from death 1 to 50, they may have an Ada lying around because they know that, well, she was very strong. She's kind of shifted out of the meta, but I'm going to keep her. So I'm not going to regress. I'm not going to swap unless I'm really trying to build a Russ, which is like the flavor of the month right now. But Ada is like that core hero that does that. Outside of that, I would say Sherlock is the most accessible one for people. Definitely. The only problem with Sherlock is he's a little unstable. Now, if people have watched my stream, they know that if you tune in, most of the time Sherlock is just popping off. He's dubbing everything and he's clearing waves that no other hero can possibly do because, as I mentioned earlier, Aspen Dungeon is like a 1-2 round meta. Heroes like Ada, Sherlock, and Drake break that rule, and that's why they're so powerful. They can get into the 3rd and 4th and 5th and even further rounds, and that allows them to do like really silly things. So Sherlock is one of those heroes. So it goes without saying he's just busted. But the thing is, you need to dove. So if you don't have a receptor, he's gonna be a bit worse. If you have an upgraded receptor, you get so much better. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. But Sherlock's another core. Penny's a great one. When we just finished talking about how do you get to death 1. This is a hero that can take you to at least death 30 on average every single time. Like she's just good for death 30. Attack. And then you need other you need other heroes to kind of fill in the gap. She can't do everything by herself. But a hero that gets you seal at 20, good broken spaces, good brave trials, good PvP presence early, and also gets you like grinding towards 50, I think there's a huge argument because none of those other heroes we mentioned earlier that are great E3s, great PV, like first E3 heroes, they don't do anything in death 1, right? Death 1 on. They'll get you to death, but they don't have that ability to keep pushing forward. Keep going. And the last one, I want to stay away from light and dark, but it's like Russ is like the better version of Penny. Like Russ can get you to like death 40 pretty consistently. Just because with one demon potion he's clearing everything. But it's just
Ada, he's very dependent on that demon potion where like Penny, there are ways where you need to use a demon potion on her, but it's usually just for the extra skill damage a lot of times. Granted, her active is strong, but Russell, I feel like Russell has a higher cap just because of what Ormus artifacts can actually do for him. Because you throw a splendid crown or a splendid, even just a glittery AMB, he's taking you to like death 40 by himself pretty much with some luck if you don't come across a penny or something. But I mean, Russell, like you said, is the flavor of the month right now. He's very, very strong. Oh, yeah.
I mean, maybe MK can talk a bit about this, but just the longevity of heroes. Like we're talking not just about specifically Aspen Dungeon, but just gameplay. When you think of like how long it takes an average player, so like VIP 0 to maybe VIP 5, 7, 8, maybe that range, it takes us a long time to build a hero, right? And I think choosing a right line, like a correct path of what hero to start investing in, that pays dividends. So if you choose a hero like Penny, what does that path look like? You're getting Seal Land, you're getting Broken Space, you're getting PvP, you're getting Brave Trials, and you're getting an Aspen Dungeon at the end, right? And she'll fall off at death 50. Whereas Russell is like, he's going to get you all that, but he also has play past death 50. So there's a really interesting thing of there's some heroes that just have a shelf life, like, and it's pretty solved now. You see, like Cthulhu is not showing up at death 50, taking you to death 100, right? Penny is not getting much past death 30. But again, it's a fine line, and it takes a little bit of research. But people have done the reps and sets, and you can usually find heroes that are like just good all around, and then you can see where they cap off. Like there's a ceiling, right, to certain heroes, and Penny's one of those that kind of just keeps paying off until the mid death stages. But
yeah, I think there's a lot of heroes that you just kind of I don't even know if it's like the right word is you just gotta smell it, right? You just gotta be like, yep, this hero's this hero is going to do good.
Yeah.
Like they just do something that's really strong. And I think when we're talking about shelf life and how long heroes can be relevant in the meta, I think one of the funniest examples of a turnaround fluke. You know, you look at someone like Faithblade, who was the best hero in the game until Unbending Will or something like that came out, and then suddenly he's completely crap because he can't one-shot heroes, doesn't get his whole thing that makes him really good, which is getting that energy. But then June's like, how have I never understood that this hero is amazing? When June first discovers that Faithblade's insane in Aspen Dungeon, he's like a Christmas that's just discovered like a kid at Christmas that's just discovered like the 10-star meta where Faithblade is just like, whoa, look at me getting all my energy, look at me active skilling over and over again. And I think you talk about heroes that can just give you that kind of reach. There are just some heroes that are like, do have a potential shelf life. I think if you look at someone like Russell, I think his active skill is so potent, it's going to be a while until we get a hero, or even maybe waves in Aspen Dungeon, that actually Russell begins to start tripping on.
Yeah.
So, and even then, it's just like, oh, we'll just feed him another demon potion.
Yeah, just give him an extra.
Okay, we've got more levels on him. Or maybe there's a better artifact that you can unlock and give him, or maybe they'll take stones to Soulstone 5 or whatever. There's always going to be little pokes that make him better.
Buffs.
So he does seem like a hero that, just because of how strong his active skills and passive damage is that he's gonna stick around. It's look at someone like Ada. When's Ada ever not going to be good? She's just such a well-rounded hero. And if any of you were around when Ada came out, it was kind of like that moment where everyone went after Aspen. Like, because that's just what happened. I think everyone went for Aspen, and some people were like, "No, I'm going to wait." And they were considered rogues. They were getting like just hate posted on. They were like, downvoted on Reddit. Like, why wouldn't you go for this new warrior? He's awesome.
Yeah,
like it's literally the guy from Aspen Dungeon. Like, there's a whole lore behind. And then Ada comes out, and it's kind of the "I told you so" moment.
Yeah,
that was just it. Basically got to a point where in PvP, the teams with Adas would always win, and if you didn't have any copies of Ada, even if you didn't have an Ada that was quick enough, you would just be like, yep, no, you're out. You suck. So I think there's just got to smell that hero that's going to be really good. And I think Russell does have the potential to be one of those. Same with Drake, actually. Like, Drake's like Hot Watcher, I'd say. Since her release, Hot Watcher's had a purpose, and that purpose she has done very well, and no one's ever going to do it better. So I think Drake's another one of those that... to be fair, I just think Russell and Drake, you look at the tier lists now and the uses we're getting from these heroes, everyone was like, oh, these heroes are really... like, what was the immediate response from the community was, oh, we don't like these, they're not OP. I'm sorry, but they're at the top of every single list. Best PvE heroes, best Aspen Dungeon heroes. Like, it's terrifying that they've released two really good heroes together. And it's so good.
You know, when you say that too, because like you're saying, he was another hero, like Carrie especially too, both of them. Even Russell, you remember week 1 Russell in Death 1? We threw him in and he's like, oh my god, this hero's garbage. He doesn't even get an active off until round 2. He can't do a thing. Blah, blah, blah. He's horrible. We throw Drake and he's like, yeah, he dodges, but he's not really doing the damage. But it's like, you have to find how to build that hero. And that's the one big thing. Like you were talking about Ada and Aspen. It's like, both those heroes, you just throw in a team, your team is better. Like flat out better. Russell, you throw one Russell in, maybe do better, maybe the same. It's not like, oh my god, I can't believe I had this hero. Now you throw a couple Russells in, and then it exponentially gets better. You throw a Russell and a Drake together, they synergize. And I think that was a big thing where people just got used to, oh no, this is just going to be the hero I put on my team. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what my team is, this is the hero. And I feel like that is a very unhealthy meta. Whereas heroes like Russell and Drake, yes, they are the strongest, but it wasn't that end-all, be-all solution to how do I get stronger necessarily. I don't know. It's kind of hard to put into words for that, but I feel like I liked how the initial response of them was not, this is the most overpowered hero we have ever seen.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think you want like the cookie cutter, like there's no...
Like
Carrie, it's like once she hits the meta, it's like we're building 6 of her, right? 5 of her. How many can we fit in a team? Like I don't think you want. I don't think any player ever wants that. Now it's fun when you're the first person that does it, but it gets old fast. Whereas trying to like figure out a build for a certain thing, like I find that gratifying. And I forgot to mention this earlier, but again, the new Void thing really hasn't set in yet, right? But MK was saying, like, maybe the thing we need to get to 100 is just the levels that we get from getting to Death 1. And when he said that, it literally sent chills on my spine because I've been trying to solve raw penny in Death 50 plus, and it's like I just need 1 more million damage on my Faith Blade for the follow-up active. And I'm like, wait, is that going to be enough attack? Because I've like tried to min-max. I took Purify off. I gave him all red enables. Like, I'm trying to stack as much damage, right? I upgraded my Punisher, like to 2-star. And like, maybe that gives me extra damage. But like, those levels might actually do it. Like, if you get more attack stat, like that might be the little bit we need to push him over, right? And we're just talking specifically about Faithfully, but any hero, that is fair game for any hero, right? So it's interesting to see, like, just like I get enjoyment out of testing and then new things happening and like trying to adjust to that. And Aspen Dungeon is one of those things. New heroes come out, new artifacts have been rolling out. It's constantly changing. And that's why I was saying, like, it's a well-designed thing, but I think it's just a perfect storm. It just happened to be so like engaging and challenging, whereas other broken spaces and other PvEs have kind of fallen apart. Like Sealand 20 is kind of a joke. It used to be so hard. I mean, Sealand 10 was impossible almost until they put pets out in E5. Then it's like, all right, now it's just going to take time for people to figure out what combination of things is going to let us push all the way to 20. But yeah.
I mean, one other thing too. We're talking about all these new things. We're talking about death. We're talking about extra levels. I mean, if you guys take a look at the bag and you take a look at the armor slot, there is a new pink button for armor slot down here. Nothing in it just yet. Just like they added for artifacts, they added for everything else. I pretty much guarantee we're going to get another tier of armor sets that you upgrade your class sets to be something else. I mean, it's going to happen. I would rather see that, in my opinion, than E5 personally. I am happy they went the route of doing more levels and not more enables, because it's easier to unlock. It doesn't require food. But I mean, it's just bound to happen. We're going to get another class of year. It's going to happen, and then that's going to also probably severely affect Aspen Dungeon clears.
Yep. I mean, the artifact chest is like the first step in the right direction, and also maybe the wrong direction if it ends up being kind of a little too like degenerate the way they do the gearing. But giving us access to more gear probably just means it's foreshadowing that something's going to happen with gear eventually, or they're just listening to feedback, because people are struggling with gear currently. You know, like for me, it's like, do I want like gems? I can probably budget for, but it's like, when is the next 6-star gear that I can make? Can I just afford to make a 2nd or 3rd or 4th mage set or warrior set? And like, what's going to happen? So I'm always really hesitant to upgrade to class gear, because there's no like really regression system. Like, you're kind of stuck with it. So, but yeah. New artifacts or new gear is probably going to happen. But I mean, if that means stronger heroes, which means being able to push other boundaries of PvE, I'm kind of for it, but really depends how they implement it.
Yeah.
When did you guys start, by the way?
Right at anniversary 2018, I think.
Okay.
Like I think I started right at anniversary, because I had no clue what I was looking at.
You might have just then. Like, there was a time where the only class armor that existed was an assassin armor that was only ever given out once, and it was like super rare. You know, so like, if you had assassin armor, it was like, whoa.
I mean, I didn't know anything when I started the game, so I probably would. It could have been. I honestly didn't even know what class gear was probably at that point. Like, I probably did not. I knew nothing.
Well, what they did afterwards is they with the Valkyrie, when just after Valkyrie came out, they released Ranger gear, and that was a game changer. But that was like a hidden behind a whale event. And then a little later on, they were like, oh, people like this class gear, let's just release Grey Dwarf's Blessing.
Okay.
And I remember that was when I got mage gear for the first time. I was like, wow, this is cool. We can have all class gear. And then I think there was a time I messaged the devs and were like, hey, is this Grey Dwarf's Blessing thing going to come, more often? And they were like, oh, no, it's a one-time thing.
Yeah.
And then, whoops, it becomes a recurring thing. And then suddenly it's like, oh, you can have class gear for everything. And now it's like, oh, I can't have enough class gear. Oh, yeah. But then I also don't have enough 6-star armor. I'm like, oh, man. Yeah. It was so scary when that came out.
I wonder if, sorry to cut you off, but I wonder what they're going to do with that gear. If they're going to give us upgraded gear. Right now you have this it's like, as a new player, it's actually really confusing. And to be honest, it annoys me when I have to make infographics about like stuff like the way you split your gear. Like if we get away from that somehow, I think it would just streamline the system. Like I don't know if you want to have an enable system on the gear. Like do you want to tune him more offensively, defensively, or neutral? Right? Like instead of doing this jigsaw puzzle Tetris game of like all these different gears, it's like, can we get past that to like, I don't know, get past the class gear into upgraded class gear, and that just has everything kind of baked into it? Because I don't know, it's annoying having to juggle 6-star gear with class gear upgrading.
Because now it's like, what are we gonna wear? Like 2 of this and then like 2 of 6-star still? Or like I hope if we do get a new tier, especially for Aspen Dungeon, because it feels like we do the split gears in Aspen Dungeon more than we even do it in PvP nowadays. Because for a while there we were doing a ton in PvP. Now not as much. But the big thing is I hope the new set of gear is like a 4-piece bonus only. Like you only get the bonuses for these gear by wearing all 4 pieces. You take 1 piece off, you lose all the bonuses. Whereas even right now, the class gear, you get the bonuses just for putting it on. Doesn't matter if you have 1 on, 2, 3, or 4. You get the bonus of that piece. Whereas I hope if they do make it like a splendid gear set or something like that, I hope it's only a 4-piece. And at 4-piece, it gives you some crazy bonuses that are way above or not even way above, but better than wearing a split gear combination would between your normal class gear and 6-star. Because it has to be better. It has to be better as a 4-piece. Otherwise, like you said, we're going to run into issues because even right now, I'm running out of 6-star gear to actually use as split gear because I need more set gear. And then I'm like, well, now I'm running my this hero more optimally, but then this one way less optimally because I don't have those 2 pieces of gear to swap over, and it's like, oh, so frustrating.
Yeah, it's the way they split the stats too, like how they design them, like the 2 pieces you need for speed, like you need the speed portions, so you can't really get away from that for PvP. I mean, if they did just 1 set, you need all 4. That would kind of, if they put out gear like that, it would actually kind of be great because we get away from this thing. Like everyone's been asking for loadouts, right? We need loadouts so I can pivot from PvP to PvE to wherever I want to go, like Guild Wars. I can just keep shifting through all the stuff. But if they did at least with the gear, like you wouldn't have to do loadouts anymore, or at least some of the loadouts. If it's just like gear is always like that and you're good, you don't have to mess around and switch things around. It wouldn't be as annoying. But I don't know. I don't know what they're planning, but gear, there's artifact, or there's gear in boxes now as rewards. So
yeah.
Something's happening.
Yeah. Maybe they'll be giving more out then.
Nice thing we've got is that you can buy like a set of ranger armor or a set of warrior armor or whatever. And if you're trying to build them all offensively like 3 in 1, you can technically get 2 heroes built by buying 1 set. So if there's a point where we need to buy a full set for every hero we have, that sounds like that could get expensive very quickly.
Oh yeah,
that's true. Yeah, that's what I do right now. I have, I think, 1 of every set, but I have like 8-ish heroes, and they just all share different pieces. So 6-star gear is at a premium right now because it allows me to run like these budget, 2-1 splits and then 2-1-3 splits. So.
Yep. Because I mean,
it's still
you got to do it for Aspen Dungeon too. Like majority of your heroes you run in Aspen Dungeon, you wear some sort of split gear. Like almost all of them.
Yeah. Only, I guess, Russell till recently. I've slowly been convinced by.
But even then, that's
the move.
Technically, the best Russell build. Technically, the best Russell build is split 1-3 with an A and B, with a glittery, radiant, or splendid A and B. It's just the best build for him right now. Because that's one thing we didn't really talk about, but it's funny how Russ's what is it? Not dazzle. He's just got a heal built in. Yeah, it's dazzling light. His heal feels like it's nothing in every other part of the game, and then you get to Aspen Dungeon with like an A and B where he has very low health, and that heal's actually healing him for like half his health bar every round, which I always thought is kind of crazy to see it because you don't normally see it in PvP. You just don't. But I probably should touch on. I know I put it. I kind of said it as niche heroes before, and then MK got offended because I said Drake was a niche hero. But but let's talk about the other heroes that go along. So you kind of need those Adas and Russells, maybe even like Faith Blades, Sherlock. Sherlock's by far the easiest entry hero to get to try to start pushing to death 50, so that you can get to that check mark. Every 50 is a check mark, so you can then start from there to try to get to 100. But as far as the heroes that are I guess niche isn't the great word. More or less, they counter the waves that your core heroes have trouble with. So like your Ada is gonna always struggle if they go up against like an Amun-Ra style wave or something like that. Heroes like Drake, Carry, even Aspen still has some use getting up to 50 if you don't have a better burst hero. Aspen can be a decent one, but again, he's what I would qualify as a demon potion burst hero, where you're mainly just using him to clear quad waves that you're struggling with, that your Ada can't clear, or your Russell for some reason. Actually, if you have Russell, there's really no point running Aspen.
Yeah, not really. Aspen's weird. Like, I know he's a fan favorite, and I mean, I really like him too. Like, I could see why he's a fan favorite. He's just an awesome hero design. He just looks awesome. He does cool things. But yeah, he's so dependent on demon potions, and he's got like the what is it? The Starlight effect. Starlight's crazy, but as your teammates start dying, you don't want that. That's not good. You don't want a hero that gets better when things are dying like around you, like your team's falling apart. Yeah, but Starlight's amazing. Aspen's kind of like that. He's like, if he's not using demon potions, that means he's going in to clean up a wave, which means the hero that just went in died, which is not good.
Yeah.
You don't want to be losing heroes. Yeah. So he's got that kind of effect going on with him. So he's not the best. But and Russ, like if you're running Russ, he's just
the what I would actually probably call Aspen is he is a filler hero if you don't have a better burst hero for Aspen. But he can also be kind of like what you said, he can be a sacrificial hero to weaken a wave up so that your main carry heroes can finish a wave off and continue on. He can be a nice sacrifice. Whereas Carry and Drake actually counter certain waves that you can't normally deal with. So Drake, you can throw in against like the duo waves with Amun-Ra's. Well, one thing I always found so weird is the Amun-Ra Aspen wave, that the Aspen has less health. So he actually attacks the Aspen first.
Yeah.
I hate every time that happens.
Yeah, that trips me up. It
makes no sense.
I think those are the small like details that I do enjoy about running Aspen Dungeon. There's still random things that I'll forget, even though I've experienced it a couple of times. But the first time you experience things, you're like, I still to this day, every time I run a Thakwa, I have no idea what's going on. I have honestly no idea what's going on. I'm pretty sure she's bugged.
Yeah,
I'm pretty convinced it's a bug in Aspen Dungeon. But because what's really interesting is something I do want to go over in a future video for just strategy for Aspen Dungeon. But something with that is I find that trying to make predictions of what the fight, like trying to simulate the fight before going in, is good practice, because then you get to see if your theory makes sense. And I find it way more engaging doing it that way. So like if I do this and the basic comes like this, if you kind of try to math it out with a Thakwa, that just doesn't work. I have no idea. Like I'm just like, it's gonna target this and kill this, and this is gonna happen. And the complete opposite happens.
Completely random.
Clears the way when I thought she was gonna die, or she just face plants. It just completely gets destroyed.
Like that should have worked. It should have worked.
Like really weird. But everyone else. Yeah. It's she's really bizarre. But for the most part, I think that like a lot of the stuff is predictable, but it's just this game of going through enough reps and sets to see how certain heroes play out. And then you got to get a gut feeling of like, I probably shouldn't run this Penny into this wave because she's going to die. Or I like, clearly you learn out very quickly. You think, oh man, Ada does everything. And then you run into your first ever Amun-Ra wave and you're like, oh, this hero sucks. Like Amun-Ra really sucks because she just counters so many of the strong heroes that you can rely on for Aspen Dungeon. I'm just going to sit here and tank, but Ada can't do that. So.
Well, that's one thing, like what we expected versus reality, you kind of found out because you had accounts that you were doing Aspen Dungeon on where I guess we use Carry. It's the only other E5 that could possibly do something. And then we find out that she kind of wrecks a lot of the Amun-Ra waves. She wrecks a few of the quad waves. I mean, she's surprising because we all thought she was just garbage. Like, probably out of all the top heroes right now, we thought she was by far the worst in Aspen Dungeon. Where in reality, she actually has a lot of waves that she just saves your Ada or saves your Russell. It's really, really surprising. Really surprising.
Yeah, that was like a huge shocker. I mean, I don't think we started playing around with her till like pretty recently. Like
like a couple weeks ago,
maybe a month. Like I often choose Carry over Drake, and I don't like doing that. When you think of like you're talking about specific heroes that counter specific waves for your core heroes. So if you're running an Ada, which most people that are trying to push Death 50 are, you're always gonna run in, well, not always, but you will run into an Amon Ra wave eventually, or a Penny wave. And if your burst hero is Russell, you can't do anything.
No.
Like your team will instantly fall apart. So you need these heroes that are very like, they're specific counters, but they will save you if even once. Like if Carrie dies but does her job, maybe you won't face another Amon Ra wave, right? Maybe you won't face another Penny wave, and then you'll actually get to death 50. So it really matters. Like choosing certain, sometimes you have to make these suboptimal choices, like taking a carry over a Drake. Because if my fifth slot is a Drake, I would love it. That's an amazing fifth hero to have on your team because he's so powerful. But if you look at your team and you go, well, if I face one carry wave or one Penny Amon Ra wave, we're done. You might die at like death 10. Like facing that one, it's like a 450 wave, which is the weakest of the bunch, and you're gonna die to that because you have no way to get around it. So yeah, these niche heroes are or these solutions for these very problematic waves are going to be your carries. Faithblade is one that's like he goes above and beyond.
Yeah.
I can't sing enough praise for Faithblade. Like I
so
wanted
fragile.
to put him like top tier, like with Ada. But then when I broke down, like he does a lot of waves actually. If he didn't have an Ada, you could actually do a lot of stuff with Faithblade. I don't have much experience, but he can burst a lot of the early stuff down. But it's just that he has no real built-in sustain, and he's like he's such a relic of the past that a lot of people have either foddered him, swapped him.
Yeah.
Like it's really hard to get copies of him. So I took that into consideration. I didn't make him like the best. I didn't say he was the best hero, but
you don't want
he's one of those heroes that
to
just
build him really. You
really
really
don't. A lot of
don't.
waves.
Because really your niche, you're putting yourself right into Aspen Dungeon, and that's it. Because he doesn't really, I mean, he can do Sealand 20 with a whole E5 team, but why do that when you can have a Russ with an E5 Belrain and like 4 Michelles, 5-star Michelles with energy? You can do the same thing that you need an entire team with Faithblade. So it's like, I definitely agree with that as far as he can be another one of those carry heroes up to 50. Does he have much worth after death 50 though?
Yeah, that's like I'm struggling. I still have him on my main account, and I've got access to a couple accounts that still have him, but I'm trying to find a reason to keep him. But again, he said there's no PvP presence. Maybe there's a little seal end. He just doesn't have it. And to make matters worse, like there's Russ. So if you build a Faithblade, which I don't think is like the worst thing. I mean, if you have the resources, if you really want to commit yourself to Aspen Dungeon, it's probably fine to make a Faithblade.
Yeah.
But then I'm dealing with every day. I look at my Faithblade, and then I look at all these loose 5-star Russes I have, and I'm like, how am I gonna?
Why am I not swapping
this hero? Like, how am I gonna build Russ, and how fast can I build him up before I swap my Faithblade out? Right. So it's maybe that's the play. Like, get to death 50 and then swap him out for Russ, because Russ, again, if we're talking about shelf life, he is a hero that like 1600% of your attack is just absurd.
Yeah,
like
the active.
that number is so silly. So he's gonna have potential like for any PvE that comes out in the future. Like any
and that number,
if ever's gonna be
that like number's just getting bigger too. As soon as he hits level 345, 15 more levels at this height is a decent amount more attack. Which then just even 1 point of attack is 1600 more attack essentially for Russell. Like it's just, well, not 16. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Math hard. But it just multiplies because you're getting such a high multiplier on that. And it's a multiplier that's that big without like an HP or attack cap on it that a lot of these do with like the max HP abilities, things like that. Just really strong. I mean, kind of want to try to jump through to see if there's any other more, I guess, those niche heroes, or like you kind of said, like the suicide heroes, where if as long as they can beat this one wave we struggle with, it'll continue our run. I don't think Forest has any heroes that do that. Garuda's just not good, period. Valkyrie, I don't see being a usable hero. Rogan's definitely not. He just, no. There's no need to use a Rogan. Yeah.
Like with Ada, like, I mean,
he can take solo
heroes that
waves.
I put in like this C tier were like Asmodel, Cthulhu, Tara, and Michelle. And Carrie kind of fits in that same bin. I guess it's Aspen as well. They're kind of just like you throw them away, you get past the wave, and then you just hope for good luck. Because that's what a lot. I mean, to be honest, when you get to like death 40, you just have to hope like on average, I'd say you want to face 1 or 2 like quad waves. Yeah. If you face any more than that, it's going to tax your team and your demon potions too much that you're probably not going to make it.
Yeah.
So you just have to keep trying at it until you get good luck on the way up to 40, and then when you get to 40, you have to just hope you don't get too many of the grief waves.
Yeah. As far as Abyss goes, I mean, Cthulhu's the only one that maybe makes the list, but he needs a Ormus artifact essentially to make him useful. Like, if you can get a glittery A and B, then he can actually tank. He can actually do most waves like Ada can even do with a glittery A and B. He can take Oberon waves besides solo Oberon. He can take all the Valkyries because, you know, he takes no burn damage, so he's amazing. But he is one that I'd put like an asterisk next to because he does require more than just a pay to win artifact. He requires at least 2 pay to win artifacts. But I mean, he's one of the reasons I got to Death 50 really easy on my account. Really easy.
Yeah, the Ormus artifacts are
crazy.
I mean, they're a game changer for sure across just the whole game in general. But in Aspen Dungeon, they allow like, I mean, GDP is at 88. We got to 83 with Saul's account. Like, that's just on the back of. Yeah, we talk about
that's
quad
just first
waves
runs.
And issues. Just toss Sherlock in.
Yeah, that's just honestly, that's only like, even me. I got to 79, and it was like my first real 50+ run. It's like we'll find some. We'll figure. I'm sure GDP will hit 100 before the new Void comes out and everything. I mean, as far as Fortress goes, Sherlock, of course, is the go-to. Penny is the burst hero. Not necessarily a Demon Potion burst hero, because she can do a lot of the waves even without a Demon Potion. But Unimax is one that you should probably talk about real quick.
Oh, I love Unimax. I have a love-hate relationship with Unimax. When I first started, I thought he was the end-all be-all. I built him. I just like go all in Unimax. I'm just gonna build him because at the time, for you people that don't know, the reason why I'm so I even started this whole journey into Aspen Dungeon is because Megatherium. Megatherium had cleared it on Discord, and he helped me out. He's the one that pushed me to stream, and he helped me a lot, like in the early stages, to teach me like his strategy, what he did, the type of thinking that he was using, and all the theory crafting. I was like, cool, I'm going to use that. I'm going to run with it. So he had cleared it and he was praising Unimax. I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to listen to what he has to say because he's obviously smarter than me, knows what's going on. So let's do that. So then I just went all in Unimax, and then, because I thought he was the solution to the forest waves, like the Oberons, the Valkyries. Turns out he's not. He's just not. He does half of that, which is actually all you need him to do. So when I started kind of being like, he's kind of useless, I don't really like him, then I started getting clears by using him. And it's just, you need to learn when to use him. And you need to know that it's risky to put him up against Oberons, because Oberon is like he's like the bane of my existence. I can't stand that hero. And what's really annoying is, I swear to you, before I started streaming, he would never twine. I didn't even have twine tech. And he would never twine my pennies. I used to love Oberons because it's like 4 Oberons, penny, go in.
Easy.
Double crit, everyone's dead, right? But now he just twines everyone. No matter, there's like a 1% chance that your hero doesn't get twined, so it's not good for Unimax. But he does other waves. So talking about complementary heroes, if you have an Ada, she really falls apart in the 40s when you have to face priest waves. That's where Unimax can pick up, the slack, where he can actually fight the quad priest waves. He can fight the Horus Valentino waves. There's a lot of little situations where having a Unimax on your team just kind of insulates you against the Valkyrie burn. At the same time, he doubles his other random wave later on, and he'll actually get you to Death 50. And I want to say, I haven't had the opportunity, but I'm pretty sure he's a great hero 50+, because the way he scales. It's not something we've talked about yet about the heroes, but that's why Ada is amazing. The more attack your enemy has, the more end of round damage Ada does. So if you have a really powerful artifact like Crown, especially an upgraded Crown, and you mitigate 5 rounds of damage, that's just 5 rounds of end of round damage. Just keep stacking and stacking. So Ada is nice because she scales, because she has sustain amongst other things. Unimax, same thing. He steals attack. So as these enemies, if you look at the stat sheets for 50+, they have 1 million attack. So you're stealing 250,000 attack every single time one of those enemy bops you. So he scales as well as the enemies get stronger. He just needs to be really tanky. So Unimax is amazing.
That's
but
one thing I was
really
gonna
have to know how to use him. You can't just
and
toss him in.
By using him, we should probably talk about it. Usually what you use is a wildfire torch on him. That is his go-to artifact because he's going mainly for the dot waves. But the question for June is, when are we going to see a Splendid Crown Unimax in 50+ to see what he can do?
Yeah, it's gonna have to be, I think it's gonna have to be my account. Which is gonna take me forever. So it's probably gonna be, I don't know if GDP does GDP still have a Unimax?
I don't think he has a Unimax. There's no way he does.
Yeah, I'm sure Megatherium, he had 2 at one point, and he was running them in PvP, just one-shotting people in round 1, right? I always thought he was such a cool hero to use because there's all these weird, quirky things you can do with him, but a lot of the accounts that I'm pushing in Death 50 now, no one has 2 max crowns. Like no one on the planet has 2 max. I don't even think it's possible.
And why put it on him over an Ada?
So it's like, yeah, you can't. Like you got to put that on your Ada, and then maybe you have like a glittery one or maybe a radiant one. Right? I don't think anyone has like 2 splendids yet. But and the people that have 2 splendids are not gonna have a Unimax. It's like this weird thing, right? So it's like it would have to be one of my personal accounts, I think. But I don't know how I'm gonna find like.
Because you'd have to take the hit of being, I'm gonna use this on Unimax and not my Ada. We're just tanking this one just for science. But you never know. Yeah. There's a lot of things we've done that with, and we were like, oh crap, this is actually really, really good.
Yeah.
And really,
those moments are great. I mean, that's why I like Aspen Dungeon. You get those moments of just discovery. Like, oh, Carrie's not brutal and like just terrible. She's amazing.
Yep.
So,
and really, the only other hero. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say a fun little tangent that reminded me when you were talking about Unimax's ability to steal attack and how powerful that is against enemies with loads of attack, because not only does it render them a bit useless because you're reducing the damage they do, you're also gaining attack yourself. Were you guys ever around for Illyria in PvE? And that's a hero that you're probably like, wait, what?
Not in the early days, but Illyria has made a resurgence in Tower.
It was a long time ago. It's good, but against things like Marauders and like single boss fights, like that's what you talk about, the whole stealing attack thing. You might want to get her up actually, just for a little fun little tangent that some people who have no idea what I'm talking about might really enjoy. Just because I realize there are most people that have joined us or have joined the community wouldn't know that this is even a thing. This basic attack steals 18% of the target's attack. And there is it's not like for 1 round, it's not for 2 rounds, it's just period. So it just made me giggle when you're talking about how you're like, whoa, Unimax can like do this like stealing thing. I'm like, oh, dude, the shenanigans people would do with a 7-star Illyria. Because you take a 7-star, that's when the second skill gets upgraded. So they just put in a 7-star Illyria. And it's just dumb because you'd see it like with like a team of E3 heroes, and then Illyria would be doing the most damage. And then the enemy would be doing no damage because you've stolen all their attack, and Illyria is just like bow, 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 with as much attack as the Marauder or whatever you were fighting. It's just sorry, I just had a little bit of a funny little.
No, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool because people who have been around since the time that was relevant are the ones that are now helping us do things that we could never do, like passing the mim waves in Tower of Oblivion, with the maximum hero being like a 7-star hero. Yes, even clearing like 607, it can be done with an Illyria, a Delacium, and like 2 or 3 Amun-Ra's, even just 5-star Amun-Ra's with energy, because you just keep replicating that steal, replicating it. Sooner or later, the mims are only doing 1 damage to you. Even if someone dies, it does next to no damage. And so that's actually, I don't know if you've actually seen that on Reddit and everything, but I did it on the Petrify meme team to get past both 567 and 607 because I was stuck with it with all my jars. I'm like, oh, I can actually build this team. It just requires 7 stars.
Yeah.
It is kind of cool that like something like that you're talking about there, the old school thing that was kind of like a really cool ability, now has a use in the game as well still. Like it's something end game kind of. But yeah.
And I mean, Tower of Oblivion has been around for a while. I mean, Illyria has been around for like since the beginning, right? I'd assume.
Yep.
So it's cool. Just as a fan of the game, to see like just small things like that just pop up. Like it just took us how long to figure out that like, people have been struggling with this Tower of Oblivion, right? Or like whatever it may be, but it's a small mechanic. It's like, it just takes someone to be like, all right, maybe this will work.
And Delacium's been around for like what, 4 or 5 months, and it's been that long for someone to actually realize, wait a minute, he can replicate an attack steal. What happens if we just keep replicating it and replicating it? So that's kind of a cool thing, like a throwback, like MK said, that's something in the old days. And now it all stems from us talking about, oh yeah, look at the steal. Look at the attack steal he has. Granted, that's only for 2 rounds. So what we're saying is we need to have a void version of Illyria that just, permanent attack steal over and over and over.
Imagine you can enable her. If you could E5 her, she'd be so much fun.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
it just on like a team which would just stall and stall and stall until the opponent literally would just not be able to do anything.
It's just look at these
permanent.
old heroes with 1-sentence abilities. And then you go to nowadays, like you go look at Sherlock's ability. It's like, I need a PhD to understand all these skills and all the interactions. And it's like, oh my God. Like literally, even if this would have been on an old hero, when Sherlock is inflicted with marks, he consumes 1 layer and dispels the mark. Like even like back in the old day, that would have been like a super strong ability. Like when there was Adas around and stuff like that. It's like, but then again, there's like 8 more sentences that come after that. Like, oh my God.
If that was around in the old days, I'd be like, wait, what's a mark?
Yeah, what's a mark? Yeah. What's
wait, those things Asmodel does? Oh, that's what they're called. Cool.
The thing Asmodel just wipes our whole team out with? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I think we kind of covered everything. We touched base a little bit on pay-to-win artifacts. We didn't go too far into, you know, the Ormus ones, but if you're at that point, you probably don't need too much guidance besides just go watch June stream any day of the week, every day of the week. Used to be 11 a.m. Now it's 10 a.m. every day. So and soon it'll be 8 a.m. and he'll just do like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. streams and we'll be good to go.
No. Don't put that.
Oh, sorry. 8 to 4. All right. 8 to 4. So that'll be good. But anything you guys want to talk about that we might have missed? I don't think we pretty much covered it all. Any closing thoughts?
Just about I'm talking about just got me thinking. Alaria kind of seeing a little bit of use, just an oldie, but it's still a goodie. I think moving forward, the Void is going to be hopefully like that. If we're talking about on looking on the optimistic side of things, what they did with Jaya, what they could do with future heroes, maybe Blutz is one of those heroes. I don't know. It's just like bringing old heroes back and finding new use for them. I think that is just like a design choice is great. How they implement it, who knows? Most likely going to be pay to win. Most likely going to be a long grind. Yes, we know what this game is about, but I like the fundamental there of recycling old things and finding use for them. I think that's good. So so big up to DH Games for putting that forward, but we'll have to wait and see if it's going to be a disastrous thing at the end of the game or the start of the new era.
I don't think we're not going to get them too fast and it's not going to be like a 1 a month type thing. It's going to be like we were talking about, I think early on here. MK kind of reiterated he probably thinks we're going to get like 2 a year, but again, those could be very, very, very strong heroes, especially since they have like a skill tree thing that we still don't know about, so they can get stronger than what they actually are right now too. Yeah, they can get stronger than what you've already seen. Don't worry, MK, it's fine. But I kind of do hope they reuse old heroes, old elite heroes. I'll say that, old elite heroes that are not used. Things like King Bartons or Barias or like Starlight, you know, something like that. Emily, I don't know, some craziness. We did have a picture of 4 heroes looking up into space, and one of them was Chia. The other ones were Sigmund, Lutz, and Penny. I don't think those are going to be any of them, honestly. I think they just picked 3.
They like hopscotch between factions. I don't know if they just go like because there's 3.
I would have thought they would, but we'll have to see.
I don't know.
Don't really know. Yeah.
Go on then. Let's for a little game. Let's say every faction. Who would you want to get like that comeback time?
Let's
start with Shadow. Yeah, June, you go first. Who would your pick be?
Okay, Shadow. Let me just pull up my Pokedex here. For Shadow, elite heroes. I should probably just grab an elite, right? Whatever's in the elite.
Just honestly, anything that's a 10-star, I'd say, is probably viable to be picked.
Okay. Well, they already took my lady, which is Jaya, so I'm already happy. But if she wasn't part of the mix, who would be funky? And I think my favorite hero out of Fortress is actually Ormus. He's just a cool hero, but I don't know how you make him a void. But I would be interested to see if they made like a super healer. What Ormus would do. Yeah, that'd be my pick for Shadow. So wait, did we say Shadow or Fortress?
Yeah, we said Shadow.
It's one about Shadow. We're just having fun watching you get it.
Okay.
Yep.
Easy. Jara.
Yeah.
100%.
Jara fit so well.
She was my first E3, so I feel like I have to say Jara as well. Yeah.
Or Karma. Karma's kind of cool too. But yeah, Jara. Both those heroes I think are cool.
I think Aiden would be a cool one, like some sort of super suicide style hero.
The second Mim.
Yeah. MK, you have
Or
to say
aid him
Bade,
with a
right?
resurrect,
Ugh.
but he keeps his buffs.
Oh. Oh. Good lord. Maybe he gets the carry treatment and he just revives infinitely, and just every time he does more and more and more.
Oh,
good lord. Yeah, I'm sure the fan favorite would be Bade, honestly. If they were smart, they would probably pick Bade.
I mean, yeah. I think they should. I mean, he like I can see that appeal. He's a cool hero, but I never built him out. But yeah, him in Void would just thematically just make sense.
Yeah.
I think
Him and
bring the
Jara.
horse back if they voided.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
they'd
they'd
have to
better.
bring the old skin. Yeah.
Or they make it a pay to win skin. The Void skin.
Jeez. Yeah. Pay to win Void skin. Oh my god.
Oh
my god. All right, so now June Fortress. Did you say Sigmund? Is that who you did, or you said Ormus?
I don't know. I said Ormus for that. Ormus is my pick there.
MK's going with Ice Blink, I imagine, or.
I've got to, haven't I? I was going to say like Emily or Valentino. Mainly Emily, because I fangirl hard on Emily.
Yeah.
But actually, it's a Void Ice Blink. Oh my god.
Yeah, that would
be like if an enemy is like has a passive skill. If an enemy is frozen,
they're
Like
frozen.
the equivalent of doved.
Oh,
imagine that as a passive skill. So you just suddenly makes Corpse Seaman relevant.
Yeah,
It's like freezing it shuts everything off. Void Ice Blink. Just call it Deep Freeze or something. Like DH Games. I hope you're listening. I'll do the voice line.
I mean, Ormus would be a
All
cool.
right, everyone.
Oh Jesus!
Fucking chill.
And there goes the PG rating.
That's not good. I think Ormus would be a cool one, especially since he was in the comic too. So we'll go with that. Now, Bisp has a lot of good candidates.
Oof.
Barton and Berea, I think, would be two that would be really good.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a soft spot for Queen because she was like one of my first like heroes that was like not like a Melassa or something completely useless on my first account.
Yeah.
Like she was actually doing something productive with the counterattacks. But yeah, like I've always wanted to build Berea. The only thing that held me back forever was that like he doesn't scale with Heart Watcher. So this one thing was like this anti-synergy. Percentage HP doesn't scale with Heart Watcher. I can't use this hero because I want to use him for like boss fights and stuff. It just seems really cool the way he scales damage. So they could go crazy with him, man, because he's got all these cool things like a build up hero, especially with this round 15 being removed. Like, he just seems kind of cool, man.
And Suppressed Strike AoE would be amazing.
Oh,
yeah. That's the point. With round 15 removed, is it possible to make a like splendid crown HP mega tank Berea, just not die and then drop stuff like super fast?
You just need a. You know what I was thinking about last night, which is Ignis and the synergies. Like Ignis would be cool because you can feed energy and you give him DR and you like stall the fight out. Like 2 Ignises just feeding a Berea.
Oh.
Like 15 plus meta. He's just running in.
Oh man, so good.
Yeah, once you clear the front row, then he's just AoEing the entire back row for like giant numbers of damage. Oh.
You know, Void Berea is just hitting everyone, or like 4 randos for like percentage HP.
I even said, even if he just hit back row instead of front row with Suppressed Strike, he might actually have some sort of use. Like,
it's a shame he's front row limited. It makes him so bad in Flame Shrine.
Oh yeah, because he only hits the one, which actually is not necessarily the worst thing in the world now with Drake. Oh my goodness, big brain plays right there. Forget the Heart Watcher. That's an extra slot for another Berea right there.
Where's Mongo? Right, we're legit talking about Berea. We need Mongo to start getting off in chat right now.
I just thought of that because Drake always will hit that front target one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Pro strats, guys.
We're gonna run a Berea, a Drake, and 4 Gurks. And just stack that holy damage up. Oh, man. All right, Forest Faction. Let's go with some old school heroes. Who would be good? Edgar?
Please.
Oh, dude, Edgar. Edgar would be so... Have you read Edgar? He just sounds so awesome. But, like, when you build him, he's not so awesome.
Could you imagine a Void Gru?
Void Gru. Space Tree.
Dark Gru.
Imagine a Void Heart Watcher,
Ooh.
like the ultimate. Imagine if she's like you increase. What? Imagine if they gave her Drake's ability to remove all armor
God.
plus her Watcher marks, so that she did everything, but it was one slot on your team.
You know what I wish it was? If it was Heart Watcher, I wish it would get rid of the 300% for everybody and instead make it something crazy like 1,000 for her, like, or something like, so it makes her the damage dealer. So she has something that keeps stacking up. I don't know. Ever since Heart Watcher's been in the game, I just hate how I have to put her on every single.
Well, she was released the month before I started playing.
Yep.
Yeah, she's a spicy.
She's an oldie.
I think she's got some of the best art of any of the heroes. It's just clean.
Definitely. All the skins and everything.
Yep.
Oh. But yeah, I don't know. Faceless, maybe. Demon Hunter? Demon Hunter could be cool.
Ooh. Yeah, Demon Hunter would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Silence and everything. We're lacking silence in this meta. That's actually just been kind of dropped off completely with silence. Don't see it anymore.
Yeah. It would be so nice if they buffed silence for her on some level, where it was like a true silence you couldn't purify. Like it just locks you, right? Kind of like a Tara seal.
Yeah.
It's like you just can't cast spells. Like you can't purify this off. You get tagged by Demon Hunter silence, and you are just silence. You have to just wait it out. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I don't even want to talk about light or dark getting a void version. I hope to God they never do. So we're not even going to talk about it and jinx it. We're hoping it's just going to stick to old crappy heroes from the normal factions.
No, but the problem is we say old crappy heroes, and imagine if it's like, okay, guys, the next one's going to be Void Desmogue. Hope you've got your copies saved.
Oh. God, I hope they never do that.
In PvP, like, it's my time.
I told you guys.
See, what I was thinking they were gonna do is they're gonna pick normal faction heroes that are hard to get still, like she is hard to get, and it makes people want to whale more on Imp's Adventure to get more chests, to get more copies of those heroes that they don't save. Like Bria or King Barn. Who has King Barn sitting around? Nobody, right? Nobody's got King Barn sitting around. But you know what? If they announce next month they're going to have him come out. What was that?
I think I actually might have King Barton's lying around.
Oh, I ate all mine.
Yeah,
just take up space in the bag. Like it's just annoying.
Well, I ate all my Shires a couple months ago.
Oh, that feels bad.
Yep.
Oh, it's worse when Asmodol. The month before they reworked Asmodol, when he became the nuts, like last March, I think. The month before they did that, I used all my Asmodols as food to make Ada.
I just realized she is the only one I don't have the 6-star, because I always just use her as food, not actually to be created as food. Because I'm like, it's her. I'll just throw her in. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Every time. Realize that.
For sure.
Crap. All right. I think that probably wraps up this part of the podcast, right, guys? We've deviated so far at this point.
Oh, just like tangent there. It's all good.
All good. All good. But I think that wraps it up. Probably gonna have to come back to this once we get the sword flash or flash sword or whatever it is, whatever the new Void hero's name is. We'll have to probably revisit it. Either that, or we might have to revisit it once GDP gets 100. Or one of us gets on. We'll have to see. All it takes is that god tier RNG. You get like 20 levels a row of like Grues and Corpse Demons and just DAs to feed energy to your Russells. And once that happens, we'll get there probably pretty soon. But we'll have to see. You never know. They might change a bunch of stuff with the Void. So again, all this information is tentative. Probably won't come to Android and iOS anytime soon. It'll probably be on the test servers on the Chinese tap servers for quite a while. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one. If you got any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. See you guys next time.
How can